I know it's not officially summertime, but in my opinion, once June 1st hits, it becomes summertime. So I have 12 palettes that I think are perfect for this upcoming season. Now, of course, you can wear any eyeshadow, any makeup, any time of year, right? You don't need me to tell you that. But I like to be inspired by the seasons, and this time of year makes me pull out palettes that are A, colorful, and B, like bronzy warm tones. Hello and welcome if you are new here. My name is Rachel, and if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. Let's talk about summer palettes in my collection. Now, I will let you know I did do this video last year. I will link last year's video down below. I am not going to repeat any palettes that I talked about last year, although of course all the ones in that video I still think are great for summer. So if you want even more picks, check out that video. So these are 12 new palettes. I mean, new meaning I haven't mentioned them in the past. I don't think that they're all still available, but the ones that are still available will be linked down below in the description box, as well as everything that is on my face. So let's start off with three. I'm gonna call them honorable mentions because they are palettes that I'm still currently testing. They're not palettes that I have used enough to get like my full and final thoughts on, but so far, so good. And I do still think they fit into the summer palettes category. And of course, as I'm going through these, let me know what your favorite palettes for summer are. Like, what are palettes that you're going to be pulling out from your collection to use over the summertime? Let me know your thoughts on any of the ones that I'm talking about today. So first of all, one of my favorite brands that I really enjoy their quality, their color stories, everything is Simply Posh. And this is their newest palette. This is the Coastal palette. Theming, packaging, I mean, it screams summer. We have this like waterscape in the background. It's making me want to go to the beach, to the lake. And on the inside, we have this absolutely beautiful, I say like mermaidy type of palette, where if you are someone that maybe is more leaning towards neutrals, but you want to infuse a little bit of color into your collection, but you want more muted colors, this is a beautiful palette to do that. I don't feel like this is too intimidating in terms of being too colorful. You can create neutral looks. You can create some like more green looks, some more like bluish green looks. There's even a couple of pops of purple in here. Absolutely beautiful. Simply Posh's formula is great. Their mattes are just that beautiful, easy to work with, I would say mid-level pigment, and all of their shimmers are duochromes. So you are getting a little bit of shift. Really beautiful, smooth and sparkly shades. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Because I love neutrals, I love this because it is definitely something I can get a neutral look out of. I've really been enjoying this one a lot, and I'm going to continue to test it, and I will put it in a palette ranking in the future. The next two palettes I'm going to talk about definitely give that fiery warmth that I look for. I mean, year round, because that is my favorite type of look, but definitely in the summertime. So the first one is the Unearthly Cosmetics High Temp palette. This is definitely coming in my top 10 palettes of the year. I can already call it. It's, oh my goodness, it's so beautiful. So beautiful. Of course, this top row is very fiery, very warm. It's giving like the high temp theme that it's being named. And I also love this bottom row. It's a little bit more unexpected, more of that pinky mauve type of look. So again, you can get more of a neutral leaning look. I consider pinky mauves neutrals in my opinion. I love how this is laid out. It's matte heavy, and both colorways of mattes go from light to deep. And we have four gorgeous metallics, two of which are standard metallics, standard meaning they don't shift. Then we have a duochrome and a multichrome. That to me is perfect, where I've got one or two special shades. I don't need a palette full of multichromes personally. This one is absolutely beautiful. Again, I'm going to continue to use this, but I would say mattes in this are very pigmented. Very pigmented. And the shimmers from Unearthly are so good. Like the newer formula that this is, smooth and sparkly, which I love. And then the third honorable mention palette that I want to mention is this one from the Lethal Cosmetics and Avatar: The Last Airbender collection. This is the Fire Pressed Powder palette. I mean, fire, again, fire, high temp. you're getting a theme here. This palette is so beautiful. Once again, you're getting these warm tones, fire tones that I love this look. And I think this is laid out beautifully where we have 5 matte shadows that go from light to deep. We have a matte black, which I always love having in my palettes. And I love all 4 of these shimmer options. They all can go well together, but they're all different and can stand alone and give you a different look as well. You really can get a very neutral look out of this. You can add those like reddish pops in there. And this color is really interesting, the color Fire Sages. It is almost like a burgundy purpley shade. So beautiful. The mattes in this, I would say, are mid to high level pigment, and the shimmers in this are so beautiful. This whole collection, I feel like they've stepped up their shimmer formula with this collection. Very impactful, not pressed hard in the pan. They're not thick or heavy, but just so shiny. Okay, now we're gonna go to the other 9 that I wanna talk about that I have fully tested. I have my full thoughts on. I really enjoy these palettes, and I'm gonna tell you why I think they're good for summer. So I have quite a few Glamlite palettes. I think they do colorful palettes really well, and I think that they tend to do a lot of like neon themed, warm themed palettes. So the first one I wanna talk about is the Garfield palette. This is one of my favorite Glamlite palettes, if not my favorite Glamlite palette. The quality is so good. The packaging is so good. It's hard to explain, but it's very cartoony. It has some raised details. The pictures are so vivid. It's so well done. I love the size of this palette as well. And then on the inside, oh my gosh. Glamlite has an incredible shimmer formula that I don't feel like every single one of their palettes has, but this palette has the very good shimmer formula where it is very sparkly, very smooth, more of a thin type of feeling, which I personally like, and very impactful. And I love this color story. We've got mostly warm tones. You've got this macaroni and cheese yellow color, which I absolutely love. But we do have like a pop of purple, a pop of this like kind of grayish blue. So you can pull it in a different direction. Again, I love the size of this. They tend to do bigger palettes typically, but I love this and I love the color story. The quality of this is very good. I might as well go through the other 2 Glamlite palettes that I have on this list while we're going with it. The Rick and Morty palette for me is my favorite go-to neon palette. If I'm looking for a neon matte, if I'm looking for a neon shimmer, this palette has me covered. And again, I think, just like I said with the Garfield palette, the very high quality, good Glamlite formula. I've never seen Rick and Morty still. I've talked about this palette so many times on my channel. I've still never watched it, but I still love the packaging. It's the same kind of thing as the Garfield, a little bit more raised details. The printing and like, it's just, the quality's so good. And then I always say this too when I talk about this palette, the mirror, this graphic on the mirror is so funny to me. Like, I don't know what it is, but I think it's so funny. And then here we have this beautiful larger palette. So if you like larger palettes, now I know that they did do a restock of this palette recently. I don't know if it is still in stock, but of course I will link it down below if it is. Another one of my favorite Glamlite palettes. Quality is great. The shimmers are super smooth, super sparkly. The mattes are a good pigment level, not overly pigmented, kind of in that mid-level. And I do like in this palette that Glamlite doesn't always do with their palettes is the mattes go from light to deep. We have some more lighter mattes that I can personally use as a transition shade because I'm old-fashioned and that's what I need when I do my makeup. But of course it does go deep as well because I do like to deepen up my looks. But let me know if you got your hands on this when it released because I do talk about this palette a lot and I do get a lot of comments saying that you missed out on it. I hope it is still available, I don't know. But it's a great neon palette. And then the third Glamlite palette I want to talk about is the palette I'm wearing on my eyes today, and this is the Fresh Prince palette. So if you're looking for more of a compact neon palette and you want more mid-tone to deep shades, this is a really good one for that. I love Fresh Prince. That used to be one of my favorite shows growing up. So when I saw that they were doing a collaboration with Fresh Prince, I was on it. I was on it. So, and this is everything I expected it to be. I expected neons from Fresh Prince, the whole color palette of all the clothes that they wear. And in that time period, it was very much a neon type of thing. So I do like that this is matte heavy, but I will say the only downside for me is that there's not too many light mattes in here. But the mattes in this are very pigmented. I remember the first time I used this on camera, I actually had a little bit hard of a time blending some of these purple shades, but I have used it several times since and I've not had a problem. I definitely suggest not like layering the shadows too much over each other. That's how I've found it's best to be able to blend them. And that can happen with very, very, very pigmented shadows. So yeah, I do love that there is a matte black and these shimmers are so, so pretty. I don't think all of the shimmers are the great Glam Light shimmer formula. Like these two are pretty, but the ones that I've used on this side are very pretty, like super shiny. I'm using this one 72 hours and it is a duochrome. It's almost like a blue to brown duochrome. So pretty. Really good, again, if you want more mid-tone to deep neon shades that don't have a strong white base to them, this is a good one. Let's switch back over to the more like neutrally warm side for a second. I have the ColourPop Smokin' Hot palette. This was in my top 10 palettes of 2023. I really enjoy the ColourPop Mega Palette formula. I think it's so good. I love this packaging. It is a soft matte touch with flames embossed in the front. Super, super fun. And then we have a giant palette full of warm tone neutrals. So if you are not a warm tone neutral lover, you probably don't want to pick this up because that's basically all you're going to get out of this palette. But for me personally, I love those types of looks. Every time I've created a look with this palette, I've loved my look. Have they looked very different? No, but I love the look. The Mega Palette matte formula is really nice. It's not super hard pressed in the pan, which I can find with some of ColourPop's kind of the larger circle pans that they have. The mattes are pressed a little harder. These ones are really easy to pick up on the brush. And the shimmers that they have in these mega palettes, I think they put different formulas. We have a couple of these more like pressed pearlescent glitters or whatever. We have a little bit more of a shiny metallic, and then we have more of a satiny metallic, a little bit more subtle look to the eyes. I like having different formulas in my palettes. So I really enjoy this palette. I think it's such good quality and I really enjoy warm tone neutral looks. So it has me written all over it. So if you're someone who likes neutrals, but you don't want all warm toned orangey reds and you want maybe a little pop of something else, I love the Nomad Okavango Delta palette. It is such a beautiful palette. Again, this came in my top, I want to say top 5 of last year. Packaging, love. Very soft, faux suede, just like my chair. Leopard print packaging. And then on the inside, we have this. So we do have this row of warm tone neutrals. They're not all like reddish oranges. They're more browns with a warm undertone. Then we also have a cool tone neutral on the bottom, and then we have greens in the middle. I think this is a beautiful palette year round, but definitely summertime. I really love those warm tones. I love having greens as well, and they're warm greens, which are my favorite types of greens. The mattes and the shimmers in this, I would say, are in the middle in terms of pigment level. The mattes are really easy to work with, very easy to work with. And if you don't like an overly pigmented matte shadow, this could be good. And the shimmers in this are a standard, really pretty, not sparkly, not shifty, just a gorgeous, smooth, standard metallic, which if you've been here before, you know I say that all the time. Like, I like a standard metallic. That is so pretty to me. It's very simple. You know exactly what you're getting. Sometimes with overly shifty shadows, I sometimes don't know how they're going to show up on my eyes, and sometimes I get confused as to how to pair them. But this, pretty easy to see. I do love that they have these special pans that reflect some of the animals in the Delta. So really beautiful. I love Nomad. They do an incredible job with their theming, with their packaging. It's always really thought through, and this is a great one. Let's get back to the colorful stuff. So I have the DD Signature Blooming Basket palette. This came out pretty recently. I'm pretty sure it must still be available. But again, really gorgeous, bright, colorful shadows. We've got some pops of neon. We've got some deeper tones. DD's signature mattes are good. She is continuing to improve them. I think these are good mattes. They're not my favorite mattes, but they're good. The shimmers from DD's signature to me just make the brand stand out. They are so beautiful. And in here we have a couple of different types of shimmers. We have a little bit more of that shifty, sparkly, very, very smooth, not dry at all. And then we have these two that are duochromes that don't have as much of that sparkle, but again, really, really gorgeous. I mean, look at that. Beautiful. Some of my favorite shimmers, honestly, are from Dee Dee's. I think she does a great job. They're not chunky. They're not overly textured, but they do have that really beautiful dimension. And the thing about this palette is when I first got it in and I looked at it and I thought, how am I gonna create looks? This looks kind of scattered, but I was really able to get a lot of really beautiful cohesive looks. The shades go together so much more than I initially thought. And I can also use this as a companion palette as well. Beautiful, beautiful palette for spring and summer. This palette is a really gorgeous one. This one I personally love to use as a companion palette. So this is from Gourmand Girls in collaboration with Steph's Beauty Stash. This is the Nueva Vida palette. And we have this, again, really bright, colorful. There are a few neons in here. On camera, they don't pick up, but these two are very bright neon, like true neons. And I really enjoy the Gourmand Girls formula. Their mattes are buildable and their shimmers are gorgeous. These ones are a little more on the textured side. Some of them are. We have some duochromes in here. This shade, the Convertible, is one of my favorite shades for an inner corner highlight. I pull into this palette specifically for this shade, the Convertible, all the time. It is, I think it's considered a satin. It is just a beautiful, pure white with a little bit of shine. I don't love putting like a super chunky shadow in my inner corner. That one is perfect for a brightening up effect that can go with just about any look that I want. So like I said, I personally reach into this more as a companion palette. I'm not a super creative person when it comes to color, so I found it a little difficult to create looks just using this palette, but I know a lot of people don't have that problem. It's just a me problem, but I really love that we have some neons, we have some pastels, we have some deeper tones. We've really got a beautiful variety of colors. So if you're looking for something like that, this is a good one. Another collaboration palette that I want to mention that I absolutely love, I've gotten so much use out of, is the Earthwood palette from Odin's Eye and Tina from The Fancy Face. There was a collaboration with 3 creators that came out earlier this year, and this was my most used palette from that collection. I adore this palette. Look at Tina on the front in all of her beauty and glory. The whole cover is giving summer. And then on the inside, we have this, oh my gosh, so pretty, so pretty. I love a palette where I can create a neutral look, a green look, and maybe another colorful look. And that is exactly what this gives me. You can clearly create a neutral look. We've got some pops of different types of greens. We've got a deeper green. We've got this gorgeous multi-chrome called Beauty that is more of a lime green. We even have this like pistachio green, which I think is very different. We've got a couple of pops of purple and blue in here, and I really enjoyed using this palette. I had to force myself to stop using this palette and to test other palettes when I first got it because I loved it that much. And the matte formula from Odin's Eye is really good. It is that mid-level pigment, easy to build up, easy to work with. And the shimmers, typically in their palettes, they put a couple of different types of shimmers. Like I said, there is a multi-chrome. Some of their shimmers have a little more texture. Some of them are a little more on the smooth side. So if you like variety in your shimmers, this is a good brand to look to. I like how compact it is. It's a really good palette. And last but not least, I'm gonna give you one more warm toned palette. This is the Game Beauty Elemental Blast palette in the colorway Pyro. I've really been enjoying Game Beauty's formula as of recent. I did get 3 palettes from this collection. And again, if you are a warm tone lover and you want exclusively warm corals, oranges, reds, but you don't want something as big as the ColourPop palette, this could be a really good, more compact version for you. The mattes for Game Beauty are definitely more on the silky side, so they have very little fallout. But with that being said, they are a little bit more on the buildable side, not overly pigmented at first, but really silky. The shimmers in this, I think, are so pretty, very smooth. This is very matte heavy. There's only 3 shimmers, which I personally like. One of them is a duochrome that is like a orange to a red Then we have two more standard shimmers here that are pretty similar. You're not gonna get too many other looks out of this besides a warm tone neutral look, but I love that, okay? So I'm not complaining. Really pretty, very smooth, not chunky, not textured. I would say not overly impactful, but I like that sometimes, having a shimmer that just looks really smooth on my eyelid. It's flattering, it's pretty, so this is a really good one if you're looking for that. All right, and that is it for my summer palettes video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. What are some of your favorite palettes for this time of year? Are there any palettes that you're eyeing that I mentioned, or ones that I didn't mention for this summer? Let me know down in the comments because I love hearing from you. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me out a lot when you do that. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing before you leave. I do upload videos weekly, and I'd love to see you back on my channel again. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.